The Stop Killing Games initiative has received its 1 million signatures that are necessary for it to have officially succeeded. So, what happens next? Well, the first step with any ECI after it receives the prerequisite number of signatures in order to succeed is that these signatures need to be verified. Since the signatures have to come from someone that is part of the European Union, that is underneath the auspices of control that this initiative has the ability to impact, these signatures then have to be verified. So this starts by, in this case, Ross will have to group the different signatures by the nationality that the signature should come from. So since the ECI control has an impact over a vast number of countries, these signatures have to be grouped into which country that they came from, who the citizen was, and what country they were a part of, and then they have to be verified. So this will happen by him grouping them, sending them to the different authorities of each country. There's a list on the website of where they're going to be sent to, and then verified. Ross has 3 months to do this. So from this moment, from the moment that it officially succeeded, Ross has 3 months in order to get these signatures grouped and sent to the requisite authorities. And then those authorities have another 3 months in order to verify them and go through that process so that it can move to the next step forward. After that, he has to submit the initiative. That is also a 3-month waiting period. He has 3 months to do it, rather. So after the authorities, one of the different nations have verified that they are the appropriate signatures, that they are verified signatures, that they are actual people, they aren't bots, they aren't fake accounts, they aren't stolen identities, etc., etc. They have sent him the certificates that is the case. He has another 3 months to officially submit the initiative to the commission, as well as all the information related to the support that he's received. From that point, it can start another up to 6 month waiting period. So at this point, before that happens, 3 months to submit it. So if he takes his time and waits to the last day, it can be another 3 months before the signatures are sent to be verified, and then another 3 months for those signatures to get verified, and then another 3 months for him to submit the initiative. Now, this is everything takes as long as possible. If everything is dragged out as long as possible. So 9 months. And then from that point, he will have a 1 month period, up to 1 month, where he will be waiting potentially to meet with a representative from the commission. And at that meeting, he will be able to explain in detail everything that the initiative is actually about. He'll be able to clear up any ambiguities about it. He'll be able to state what the goals are of the initiative more clearly, and answer questions that might be asked of him about some of those ambiguities. So all those cases where it's like, okay, well, what does this actually mean? Or is this what you mean by this? Or that what you mean by this? He will have the opportunity from that point on to clarify those issues, which is a really good thing to be able to happen, because any of those concerns about, well, what if the commission and the parliament ends up seeing this and they interpret it this way and then they go this way and that creates more damage to the gaming industry, or if they do this instead and that creates more damage to the gaming industry, or they do this and it doesn't actually accomplish anything because that's not what the actual goals were, because these members of the commission and parliament are probably, much older people that might not know anything about the gaming industry, or might not understand the concept of live service games, or might not understand what the actual issues at hand are, and will interpret them in a way they can most relate to but might not be accurate. I mean, look at some of the stuff when Mark Zuckerberg was talking before Congress, and the members of Congress very clearly didn't understand how the internet works. This is the opportunity to clear those up. Within 3 months, he will be able to present the initiative at a public hearing for the European Parliament. This is now, instead of just one representative that will be potentially asking questions or getting things clarified, this is the European Parliament in themselves will be able to ask questions, get things clarified. He will be able to present it, explain it in more detail. So now it's not getting lost through the grapevine effect of, playing the telephone game of, okay, well, he told the representative this, but then the representative didn't understand what he was saying properly, and now it's still being misinterpreted and misunderstood, but now it's being misinterpreted and misunderstood even worse because it's coming through someone else's misunderstanding of what is going on. It also states here that they may hold a full debate or plenary session, which could really lead to adopting a resolution. Now, one thing to understand here is this does not mean that the changes will happen. This means solely that he has the ability to speak before Parliament, get all of the issues out there, tell them what is wrong, explain why so many people signed this initiative and find an issue with this, and then from there move forward, and hopefully the Parliament will adopt a resolution and will decide to take the next steps towards enacting law or enacting change related to this initiative. It is not a guarantee that any change will happen. It is just a promise that he will have the opportunity to speak before Parliament and explain why this is such a big issue and why so many people were willing to put their name to this. Within 6 months, the Commission will spell out what action, if any, it will propose in response to your initiative and its reasons for taking or not taking action. Again, they have the ability still, unfortunately. I mean, not unfortunately, because ultimately, just because a million people agree to something doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea. So if it was a requirement that they had to make a change because a million people signed a petition, that would be dangerous because then what other petitions would people start? So from that point on, within 6 months, they will spell out what they're going to do. They'll explain what they're going to do based off of the initiative and what changes they will take or why they aren't taking those changes. It'll be in this form of a communication formally adopted by the College of Commissioners and published in all official EU languages, because there's a lot of EU languages. You will meet with the representatives of the Commission who will explain in more detail its decision regarding your initiative. So again, he's going to get the opportunity to talk to them, and they're going to explain what they are doing about it. Are they going to try to enact legislation? Are they going to direct some other board of officials that, doesn't necessarily require legislation? Because in a lot of cases, regulatory boards don't necessarily require legislation to be passed to change things. A lot of, at least in America and in a lot of other countries, power to enact certain changes is just delegated to those organizations, to those boards, to those regulatory bodies. That doesn't require a law to pass as long as they were following whatever guidelines are set forward that they have to follow. So it might not be law being changed. It might just be whatever regulatory board is responsible or whatever organization is responsible for regulating this thing is then directed, hey, enact these changes. And then what's next? Legislation. If the Commission considers legislation as an appropriate response to your initiative, it will start preparing a formal proposal. This can require preparatory steps like public consultations, impact assessments, etc. Once adopted by the Commission, the proposal is submitted to the European Parliament and the Council, or in some cases only to the Council, which will need to adopt it for it to become law. If they so choose, if they think that this is something that they actually want to act on, if they want to listen to the voices of the million people that signed the initiative, and think it's actually something that needs to be done, because again, a million is a lot, and this is just playing into if they don't decide to immediately change, and why just because an ECI succeeds doesn't necessarily mean that the law will be enacted or the change will be enacted or even should be enacted. Is a million is a lot, a million is not the majority. A million is still a small drop in the bucket. It's just enough for them to say, if a million people are willing to put their name behind this, we'll look into it, which is something I wish we had in America. I wish the United States had something like that actually directed and required a response from the government rather than just, like a change.org petition, which hopefully gets voices heard and gets people realizing, hey, this is a big issue, but doesn't legally require a response. But in that case, if they choose to make legislative changes, they will put the proposal forward and they will send it to the appropriate body to vote on it and hopefully enact it into law. The other actions they can take, the Commission is not obliged to propose legislation. Even where it responds positively, the most appropriate follow-up to an initiative may be non-legislative in nature. There are a range of other measures that may be more suitable. Again, they could just direct the appropriate regulatory board, the appropriate organization to change their guidelines, change their procedures to make this make this thing go into action, and make this thing not an issue anymore. if they so choose to make these changes. They could also just choose not to. Follow up, the European Parliament may also assess the measures taken by the Commission. If the Commission doesn't do things appropriately, if they receive all of this and then are just very dismissive of it and are like, no, this is stupid, we're not doing this, a bunch of gamers are wanting changes, oh no, whatever. If they decide to act in a way that is not appropriate, is not following with what the goals of this Commission is, the European Parliament may take measures, may assess the measures taken by the Commission. So if they just drop it and Ross decides to appeal it, from what this is seeming like, he can go to the Parliament and say, listen, we did all the right steps and they disregarded them. It seems like that is an option here. But that is essentially what the next steps are. Now, I am right now trying to see, because what I was going to try to say with this is, hey, continue to sign the petition, because one, these petitions, these signatures still need to be verified. They still need to be able to prove that these are actual people, that these are not bots, these aren't fake signatures, in order for this to go on, and they need to be verified by the appropriate verification bodies, depending on the nationality of the thing. I am trying right now, at this very moment, I'm trying to get to the petition again. If you go to the Stop Killing Games initiative, it has the website, it has passed the 1 million mark, and based on a cursory Google search, there are 449 million citizens in the European Union. So while 1 million is a huge number, it is not a majority by any means. So the more people that are signing this, the more people that are putting their name towards this, it increases the obvious percentage of the population that is vested in this, which means they might take it more seriously. Right now, again, quick math, 1 million signatures, it is 0.2% of the population. But if a lot more people start signing this, then that percentage increases, and the European Parliament, the Commission, everyone that is looking at this will see that it is a bigger deal to more and more people. So what should you do now? Even though it has reached its 1 million signature mark, it is still a good idea to go to the Stop Killing Games page, go to the ECI page, click on the initiative, and sign the initiative if you're in one of those countries that is allowed to. And it's a good idea to do this for multiple reasons. One, these signatures still need to be verified. There's still a possibility that a percentage of these signatures are invalid signatures. They aren't real people. They're bots. They're fake accounts. They, for whatever reason, cannot get verified, and that drops the total number of signatures below the 1 million mark, and then the Commission isn't required to act on it, and they don't do anything with it. That is still a possibility. But and having more signatures means that is less likely to happen. It is more likely that it will, even after those signatures are verified, and even after some of them are considered invalid, that there will still be more than 1 million signatures, and it will move forward. But two, the more people that sign this signature, or sign this initiative, the more people that put their signatures on this initiative, the more likely it is to succeed, just on the level of it means the Commission and the Parliament might take it more seriously. They are more likely to say, wow, even more people are seeing an issue with this, have this problem, than just the minimum. Because while 1 million people is a lot of people, 1 million people is by no means the majority in the European Union. Based off a quick cursory search, there are 449 million citizens of the European Union. 1 million people is 0.2% of that. But if it gets to 2 million people, that's 0.4%. If it gets to 10 million people, that's 2.2%. As more and more people sign this, it shows that more and more people in the European Union have an issue with this, and means that the Commission and the Parliament is more likely to take it seriously. And that is very important. But with that, the link to the Stop Killing Games initiative will be right below here somewhere. And please do what you can to support it. Yeah, like and subscribe. I don't know. Thanks.